Okay, we're back again for what I would like to think is definitely, most certainly, the going to be the last part of this whole installation. So um, I'm not exactly sure. I still don't have everything that I need to finish it arrived in the mail yet. I am hoping that the last of it should it's on Amazon. It's saying that it's going to be tomorrow. I'm optimistic that because it originated in Alberta, that and we're not too far from Alberta, that maybe we'll see it today. But at any rate, the last video was a little bit on the short side because of the fact that I was um, pulling out what little hair I have, and I was feeling a bit frustrated, and I just kind of decided to call it at that point because I wasn't enjoying what I was doing anymore. But it's a couple of days later now, and we're just going to keep on plowing ahead. It's not an option to give up on this. But basically, to recap, what happened is that I went to go and hook up the solar controller again. Well, actually, it was hooked up already. I energized it off of by switching on the breakers that are responsible for the solar panel side of this, and as well as the battery side of it. Turn the battery side on first, and then the solar panel side next, and got an error that came up right away. And actually, the error was on this the when we first came home and realized all the damage that had occurred in there when the buck converter overheated and caught fire. And what was coming up at that time was an error code number 21, which basically says disconnect everything, reconnect everything, and if the problem persists, then probably your controller is screwed. So um, it was my opinion at that time that certainly there was some wiring problems going on in there with some of the burnt up stuff that was pretty obvious. So, but the actual controller itself didn't appear to have any damage on it at all. It wasn't burnt. Um, this was the side of it that was near where the ignition source was. I mean, there's no damage to the finish. Underneath is nice and clean. I mean, basically, visibly, there doesn't appear to be anything wrong with this at all. So I thought probably it's good to go. Anyways, not so much. I hooked it up again in the last video, and at the end there, realized that the same error is persisting, which Victron, when you look at their list of different codes that come up, says the same thing: disconnect everything, blah blah blah. If the problem persists, contact us. You've probably got an issue with the hardware itself. So um, I have contacted them. I researched online a little bit to see if there was some kind of a hard reset that I could do myself that might sort of wake things back up, but it doesn't appear as though there is anything like that. So I reached out to Victron through the process on their website, where they capture the serial number and a bunch of stuff. And I did get an automated response from them saying that they'd received that from me, and that somebody would reach out to me soon. Which actually, how many days has this been? It's Sunday today. It was Thursday when that happened, so I guess it's actually more like 3 days now, and I haven't heard a single peep out of Victron at all about what they recommend I do with this. So I was sort of kind of maybe expecting that the process to get some help with the controller was going to take a while, and then I also didn't even know if they were going to do anything for me anyway, just given the nature of what happened. Um, but I guess none of that really even comes into it yet, because they haven't even contacted me to ask any questions about what's going on, or what happened and what they can do. So I ordered another one from Amazon, just in the event that I wasn't going to get any help, or the help that I did get was going to be time consuming. And that is in the mail, and hopefully with any luck should be here today. If not, they are saying it's going to be tomorrow for sure. So I still have a few things that I can wrap up in the meantime. This video is maybe going to involve me wearing a couple of different shirts because it's going to maybe be spread over a couple of days if the controller doesn't show up. But um, I I need to sort of reinstall the box that was covering the big batteries again. And my plan for that is to actually use the leftover rubber membrane that I had covered up the burning on the plywood wall. I have some left that should probably be enough to cover that and make it look a little nicer. I need to build a second little box to do the same thing for the smaller batteries that are currently running the 12-volt system right now. Everything seems to be working fine with that. The last 3 days I've been checking up on it every day and everything looks good. That little panel is really slow to charge them, but it is doing the job. Hopefully if we ever get any sunshine again, it'll work a little better than it has been. But yeah, so that's basically what's on the roster for today. Hopefully we get everything to completely finish this once and for all, and hopefully nothing else goes wrong that results in a second season of this or what. So anyway, let's get to work. Okay, so we're just in the front pass-through compartment here, and part of the install to put all this back together again was to run a new 50 amp cord from the breaker panel through to the front compartment here, where all the solar stuff is kept. And what I unfortunately realized when I went to go and see if I had any slack here to just cut the damaged wire off and then pull through an extra 6 or 7 inches or something, was that I didn't give myself any slack. So this time I do have a transfer switch coming as well, so that I can sort of reconnect the shore power again and give that priority over the solar, so that if we ever do want to plug the trailer in normally, that we can. That's not supposed to be here until the 10th, so I'm not going to bother with worrying about keeping this all open, because I mean, at some point in the near future, we're going to want to start to use this. It is now the beginning of June. I was planning on having all of this work done already, but we bought this trailer new, and part of the reason that this is opened up is because I needed to get the wire back to the breaker panel, because the one that I had put in was too short. But the other thing that I noticed once I was in here was that right around where that red rag is, it was leaking. The hot water tank plumbing was leaking. We bought this trailer new. I mean, I'm perfectly capable of crimping on some new connections and stuff, but my concern with this being new was that if somebody that wasn't certified to do this, like myself, started getting in there and chopping things out and replacing new plumbing, and then something else fails that causes like some major water damage some other day, was that warranty was going to come back at me and say that I had been messing with things, and so therefore they're not covering it because it was my fault. So anyways, they sent out a mobile RV guy, and he put in the new stuff and fixed everything, and so that's all good now. But since then, while we were testing the water and stuff, it involved me. We've never used this trailer, so it's only just clean water that's in here. So I went in to go and let the clean water go out of the tanks. And came to realize that neither one of the blade valves are working properly. So we've got another call into the warranty people to see if maybe they could get that working for us, because I don't know, I guess bright side is that I learned about it here and not after we had filled them up with something nasty and then went to go and take that lid off and realized that the blade valve wasn't actually holding anything back. So I guess thank you for that. But we need to get that fixed. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. This whole compartment anyways, I'm going to close up today now, just because I don't think that there's anything else that the RV guys need to do in here. And
I should be able to at least get it so that we can start putting our lawn chairs and barbecue and all that kind of stuff in here so that we're a little bit closer to being able to use it. But yeah, I'm just going to start putting the wall back on. I did change this wall a little bit too. It used to be that it started here and then just kind of cut the corner on an angle back to kind of where the hot water tank compartment is. I've put this little short wall in here just to kind of buy us a little bit more storage, and then I'll still have to sort of cut a corner from the end of that over, but it did give us an extra, I don't know, maybe 6 inches or something, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but I mean, it's better to be used as storage instead of just hiding the mess of stuff that's in behind there.
Okay, that's better. We got the wire all hung up back out of the way, and the walls all put back together again. We ended up gaining quite a bit of extra storage out of the deal. I got it all cleaned up. So now it's time to get back to that battery box again and get it reinstalled. Okay, I've got the lid back in, and I've got it clad in that leftover rubber stuff that I used to repair the wall. I think it looks pretty good. And then also I made a new lid for the littler ones that were over here. I had just enough of that rubber stuff to kind of wrap up and over. It goes in behind here, in between the batteries and the wall, as well as actually down and around the front as well, so that I don't actually need those mountain bike inner tubes anymore. Strapped it in, made a kind of like a custom bracket there to go around where that clamp is. That's part of the fifth wheel, so that it's nice and flat and not wobbly on there at all after it's all clamped in. And this is really solid and not moving at all. So it's starting to look kind of like a finished product in here now, which is good because I hope that I am finished soon, because I'm getting pretty sick and tired of banging my head on the hitch 50 times a day. But I still do need the replacement for the solar controller to show up. The shipping, the whatever you call it, the tracking rather, says that it's in town now. So I've got my fingers crossed that maybe it will show up today. Otherwise, this will have to wait until tomorrow. But the one thing that I can do though is I have the 24-volt charger now that I can install up here and hardwire that into our bus bar system over here, so that the shunt picks up the charging amps into the batteries. And actually with that working, although we won't have any solar to charge anything, at least I can hook this back up and start seeing how everything works again anyway. So that's what I'm gonna do next. So this is the 24-volt charger, and to be fair, this isn't really exactly what I thought I was getting at all. The one that I thought was coming had ring connections on the end instead of these, and was also able to like actually mount to a surface, which I mean, I don't see anything on here that's going to allow me to do that, but it doesn't weigh a whole lot, so I think if I use a bunch of zip ties or whatever, that part should be okay. And then I just figured out how to slide these plastic things back, and you can see it's kind of soldered on the one end. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm just going to pry this out, cut it there, and then if I ever actually need these in the future, it looks like the other side is still not touched, so a person could strip that wire back, or a wire for something else, and use these again. But for now, I'm just going to cut them off and put some ring terminals on the end and start hooking it up. So there we go with the charger. It actually, as it turns out, fits in
this little compartment, it was just a little bit too tall to fit underneath here, but it fits in between here just great, so it's not going to be in our way at all. I did just have it running, and I've unplugged it now because it's actually pretty noisy, but it seems to be working really good. One thing that I did notice that is kind of annoying me a little bit is that the positive and negative wires on it are represented by blue for negative and brown for positive, which doesn't match a single thing in here, because I did everything in red and black, as is the universal colors for DC positive and DC negative. So way to go, Power Queen or China or whoever is responsible for making them blue and brown. Doesn't change the way that it works, but is kind of annoying that it's the only thing in here that doesn't match. So that's about it for that. I just have a little bit of zip tying to do just for the wire to put it where it belongs, so that we can start plugging into it using this. I just used the extension cord that I kind of had already out here, which is one like that, which of course isn't going to plug into this, but that's okay. It works. That was the main thing. So that's that. Now, one thing that I was able to experiment with now that this is all turned on again is this. So the voltage on the little batteries is currently at 13.37, charging off of the sun. Well, if you want to call it sun, it's been miserable the last few days. So that's all fine and good. What I have noticed though is that if we test these two here off of the battery, this is the conversion coming out from the big batteries. We've got 12.4, which is also good. If I turn this on, allowing it to output to that battery, and then measure this again, we've got 13.23, which is fairly similar to what the battery voltage is right now. So that is not what we want. I don't want this thing receiving voltage from the batteries whatsoever. So it sounds like my original idea about the block diode before everything all caught on fire and burnt up in here was sound. So I didn't actually return that block diode because I wasn't entirely sure whether I was going to need it or not. But I think that seeing the results of the battery being hooked up to this is pretty consistent with, you know, putting that in now. So I'm going to go ahead and find that in the garage, wire it up on the way to the battery, take a new voltage reading, and see if that changes things for me. Okay, so I've just cut into this wire here. This is the block diode that I ordered a while back when I thought that was causing the problem with the last buck converter. At any rate, this one is, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Your path starts here and then comes out the other side in the direction of the symbol for the block diode, which is just a little arrow pointing the direction of the current, and then a little line across the front of it, which is meant to represent that current can follow the path of the arrow but can't return on the same thing. So I have heard that these things can generate a little bit of heat. So what I don't think this one here is capable of doing 100 amps, which there's
should never be a time where we're ever going to see anything like that. I mean, first of all, the fuse can't even handle that. But what I am going to do is I'll space it off of the surface here with a few washers so that this bottom part isn't actually touching the surface, and will provide a little bit of airflow to get underneath it. So the block diode is all wired up now, and we've got 12.4 at the down converter. And it's kind of hard for me to, I don't know if I can. 13.3 on the side of the block diode that's not allowing current back through it. So that's looks to me like that's going to be the solution. I'm not exactly sure why. I mean, I presume these things maybe were not designed in mind with there being a storage battery or capacitor or whatever on the downstream side of this. So perhaps there was no consideration taken with these with regards to current actually being like higher on the other end, where it would want to travel back towards it. I don't know. The Victron does have a fuse in it, so I mean, and it's just good quality stuff. So I mean, I feel like had this been in here in the first place, that I would have come out here probably one day and just been curious as to why it wasn't working anymore, but there wouldn't have been any destruction caused by it. And then probably ultimately what I would have discovered is that the fuse that's located underneath here was blown, and then I would have been scratching my head trying to figure out why. But at any rate, the block diode thing seems to be doing the trick. All I wanted this to be able to do was for the solar panel on the roof of the fifth wheel to store as much energy as it could from the sun into those batteries. And then if it turned out that our usage exceeded what that little solar panel was able to keep up to, then I wanted to have this available to take over, which at 12.4, that's a little bit of a higher voltage coming out of there than what the last one was, assuming that the last one ever worked properly to start with. But that will at least ensure that at a time when the batteries are depleted below 12.4, that suddenly now the path for this would open up and then maintain that at the 12.4 and not allow it to get any lower than that. So that seems like a pretty good system to me anyways. My wife Stacy just gave me a call too and said that she got an alert saying that the solar controller that is kind of the last piece here is saying on her Amazon thing that it's out for delivery. So I'm really hoping that we're gonna see that here in the next few minutes. For now, I'm just gonna sort of clean up some of the tools and stuff that I'm not using, and then plug the charger back in and kind of give some of this a try and see how it all works thus far. Well, look what just showed up on the one day early, just like I was hoping. So maybe this is the sign that finally we're gonna get our way on this thing. I have been fiddling around with the inverter without it, and it seems to be working just fine. The only thing that I don't really understand is this screen now is not giving any information. It turns on and off, but it doesn't give any information as to what's going on. So when I originally pulled the inverter down, Stacy was helping me, and I had forgot to disconnect the Cat 5 cable from the side that is what is responsible for making the remote work. And although the remote seems to be turning the inverter on and off as well, it doesn't have any information on it either. It used to tell you how much voltage was in the batteries and you know how many volts you were putting out versus coming in and all that kind of stuff. And it seems to be doing all those things fine because I've had my meter on both sides of it, the DC side and the AC side of it, and everything is fine. I've run some pretty big loads in the RV, like I had the AC going for 10 or 15 minutes. And it was running all those things fine. I checked the outlets while the AC was running, and although there was a bit of a sag, it was still holding at 120 plus, even with the AC going. So, and then without the AC going, it would shoot up to like 121, you know, close to 122, which is pretty normal. Like I checked our house too at the same time and compared it, and it's, you know, right on point. In fact, the voltage swings in the house were more than what this seems to be. So it seems like it's doing everything that it's supposed to do. It just, this little screen here though that used to kind of give you some stats on, you know, the state of what was going on with the inverter doesn't seem to be doing anything anymore. So I don't know. Anyways, hopefully that's not a sign of a problem to come, but it's not something that I'm going to worry about for now, since it is inverting and, you know, it's doing what its intended purpose is. So back to this again. Time to get this in and see if we can't get some charging off the sun. That's assuming we can get any sun today, but let's get it in here and see what it does. Okay, moment of truth. I've got it back on the wall. I've turned the breaker on to the battery, and it is powered up. I haven't turned on the solar panel yet, just because I wanted to first go into here and show you sort of how you set it up the first time around. The first thing, oh, it actually did recognize it this time. The last time when I went to go and set this up, it defaults to 12 volts, and I had to change it to 24 volts. One thing that you do need to do is select a battery preset, which is lithium iron phosphate. So that changes all your settings with regards to charging that style of a battery. On the shunt, this number here is the one that you'll need to remember when you put your information into there, because it's supposed to be 0.2 volts less than what the absorption voltage is. So on the shunt, I can show you maybe in a different video how these things get set up or whatever, but I've already gone ahead and done that. So the next thing it wants us to do is an update. So we'll just give this a little bit of time to go ahead and do that. So that first update is done. So now it wants us to do a second one. This one goes a little bit quicker than the first one, as I remember. Okay, so that second update is finished now. It's the only update remaining as far as I know. It was 2 the last time. So the only thing left now is to flick the breaker on for the solar panels and see if we can get any charging off of those. So it's reading 35 point-ish Oh, and the watts are going up. So that is fantastic news. I'm extremely relieved about that. It does appear as though we've got a functional system here again. Not exactly sure what's going on with that screen. To be honest, I mean, it was working in the basement. I don't know. Perhaps it never was working after we got it out here. I don't know if it kind of gets screwed up having this like multi-shunt thing that I've got going on. But anyways, I don't want to do away with that because I do like having the monitor inside here as well as the Bluetooth one. So that's I guess that's it. I'm just gonna re-secure the lid down for the battery thing here. I found that it was a little bit easier to put those cables back into the charge controller with it off because it just gave me about an inch and a half extra room to fiddle around. But that's all all there is to it, as far as I know. So we're gonna use it for. Actually, we might even stay in it tonight and just sort of play around with everything and see how it goes and make sure that everything is doing what it's supposed to. So far, to me, it looks like it is. At long last, I do believe that I can declare that we have finally got our solar system up and running. So sorry for the long drawn out procedure in getting it done. I wasn't planning on things going wrong the way that they did, but like I said, it's one of those things where I could have just cut it off at that point. It appeared to be working after the third video, but sometimes seeing how other people have screwed their stuff up is beneficial. So I figured, what the heck, we'll just leave it in there and we can figure this out at the same time. So catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.